Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another TBC Classic video. My name is Kargoz, and today I'm excited to present for your viewing pleasure a comprehensive Hunter leveling guide for the Burning Crusade. Let's get right into it. So, here is our table of contents. Section 1 is general knowledge. We will discuss why you should want to play Hunter in TBC. We'll talk about major class changes, go over racials, talk about general stat weights, spell power coefficients, and try to establish just a basic understanding of how each specialization performs, what role they play in a TBC environment. Section 2, we will be talking about the Hunter. We'll focus on the Hunter as opposed to the pet. We'll talk about new abilities, go over key talents. I'll take you through some talent build options, basically whether you want to go dungeon cleave or solo level out in the open world. We will dissect the one-shot macro, the infamous legendary one-shot macro. I'll throw up a slide for ability training for future reference if you want to see what you're going to train at what level, and we'll go over rotations, both out in the open world, at each leveling stage, and also against bosses and stuff like that. So hopefully this is going to be the most comprehensive guide you've ever seen on Hunter, and it's going to help you feel really, really comfortable and confident moving into the TBC, and knowing your class. So anyway, the next section will be all about pets. We'll talk about what is different about pets in TBC versus Classic. We'll talk about the actives and passives, pet attribute scaling, pet progression, pet maintenance. Section 4, we'll be discussing leveling strategies. So, how are you going to approach leveling in TBC? Are you going to go out in the open world? What are the considerations for that? Are you going to cleave? Maybe what the compositions are there, and what the routing would be. And then finally, we're going to finish with the army. We'll discuss which professions to choose and why. We'll go over weapon progression. Weapons you can realistically get quest rewards from 60 to 70. We'll go over, and the same thing for armor as well. Alright, so before we get into the meat and potatoes, I want to quickly shout out my fellow collaborators on this project. We got my man Crix and my man Leox. These guys were absolutely instrumental towards making this guide. There's no way I could have made this guide without them. They taught me so much. Crix and Leox are both in Get Carried. Those are their Twitch right there. I will throw their Twitch down in the description below. Please, if you enjoy the content here today, I would really appreciate it if you could go over there and just throw them a follow, say some nice words, be like, saw you on the guide. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your help with this. Okay, Section 1, General Knowledge. Why play Hunter in TBC? Well, they're a top-tier DPS in high demand all throughout, mainly speaking to Beast Mastery. Beast Mastery is insane in TBC. There always needs to be one Survival Hunter in the raid as well. And that is to have the exposed weakness debuff, which we'll talk about more later. But BM Hunters, they slap. I mean, they're top 3 DPS class and spec, maybe top 2, maybe the top DPS spec point blank period overall. But it's just up there in that S tier, right? With warlocks and at a certain stage with mages. Secondly, they're strong at dueling and in world PvP. Thirdly, they have viable arena comps in all brackets, 2s, 3s, and 5s. And they are arguably the easiest to gear from pre-bis through tier 5, which we'll discuss in more detail later. And another thing is fast leveling. In Classic, they have fast leveling. In TBC, they continue to be fast levelers. They have a pet, right? And the last 2 points, just want to quickly mention this, is that Feign Death. In Classic, it works in this way too, prevent you from dying personally, even if your guild wipes on an attempt or something, and this will save you a ton of money on consumables, right? So maybe a Warlock would spend 500, 600, 700 gold on a raid night. For a Hunter, you might spend 100 gold on a raid night. So this is a nice quality of life thing, really in practice as you're playing the Hunter and raiding actively, that you'll be able to experience. And the last point is that leatherworking, which is often a mandatory profession for drums and drums rotation, it slots in elegantly with the Hunter's character progression in terms of being able to craft gear, and we'll talk more about that later. Alright, major class changes. You can use traps in combat. This is huge. If you played Hunter in Classic, this is such a pain in the butt. Dealing with 400 millisecond, almost half a second batching window, scatter, feign trap. It can be kind of janky. This is just amazing, juicy quality of life. You can be in combat, throw down whatever trap you want, and it'll pop right then and there. Don't need to feign first. Secondly, the dead zone has been removed. So the dead zone is speaking towards the range in which a Hunter, you're too close to a Hunter, so they can't shoot you, but they're also too far away from you for you to melee them. That's the dead zone, right? So this has been effectively removed. There's still a minimum range to shoot, but that minimum range is now 5 yards, and if you're any closer between that 5 yards, you can melee them. So there's no more dead zone. Thirdly, shared attributes with pets. This is one thing that has plagued Hunters in Classic. On the very last day of Classic, your pet on your Hunter is going to be as strong as it was on day 1 of Classic, right? They don't scale with the Hunter at all. It's totally static. In TBC, it's really exciting. They scale with your armor, spell damage, spell resistance, attack power, stamina, and we'll talk about the exact values later, but very, very cool. Fourth thing is Men Pet is now instant cast as opposed to channel. This is another just huge quality of life. I mean, if you're channeling a spell, you're essentially incapacitated. You're not going to work your way back towards spirit-based mana regeneration until that channel either concludes or you stop it yourself, right? So there's that, and also just because it's instant, you just throw it up all the time. You know, you have really a high uptime with your Men Pet because you can do damage, and we'll talk about the rotation later. But having Men Pet instant is, you'll see almost immediately once you get your hands on the Hunter in a TBC environment, you're gonna realize, man, this is so much better. Next thing is Aim Shot. Now is a 50% reduced healing Mortal Strike type effect. This is good in arena and just in all types of situations. The pet system has changed a bit. There's new pet breeds, new abilities. One thing is that attack speed has been normalized to 2.0 seconds. So in Classic, you have to get stuff like Broken Tooth, Frenzied Bloodseeker Bat with the 1.0 attack speed for PvP. People, you know, teasing, you know, which type of pet attack speed is going to be the best because it procs X, Y, or Z amount. You know, it's all just normalized to 2 seconds now. All right. You no longer die when Feign Death finishes channeling, just a minor thing, but that'll be cool to include. Ranged weapon skills in Classic, you know, giving you that plus bow or plus gun skill. It's been turned into 1% crit. And another little quality of life thing is tracks persist through death now. Alright, so Horde Hunter races. I'm going to very just light touch talk about this type of stuff. I have an extensive guide for both Alliance and Horde on my YouTube channel that I encourage you to check out if you want a little bit more in-depth breakdown. But we're just going to lightly touch on it. PvE, Orc is king. Everything about Orc is phenomenal on Hunter. The increased pet damage. You get a lot more value from your pet just across the board in TBC, in both an arena environment. In raids, you get a lot of value from your pet. Pet does a ton of damage. There is like an AoE reduction, new passive they've added to the pet, so your pet's going to survive a lot longer. It's a whole nother ball game with pets in TBC. That increased pet damage is solid on Orc. Also, Blood Fury, which we'll talk about in a second, now gives RAP, ranged attack power, in addition to just melee attack power. Super good. Everything about Orc is phenomenal. Troll's a bit weaker in the context of TBC. I know you can take off your gear, put it on, pop a demonic rune. All that still applies, but the fights are much longer in TBC, so 3-minute cooldown, 2-minute cooldown. That it is what it is for PvE. No one's really going to fight you on this. On PvP, Orc would still be the best, arguably. Just the stun resist is phenomenal in an arena type environment, and we can talk about it a little bit more as we go through the slides, but just very light touch. On the Alliance side, it's a bit more even. I know we have Night Elf over Dwarf over Draenei here, but don't think it's the end of the world either way. Night Elf is basically 1 gem ahead in value over Dwarf and Draenei, just because they have higher base agi, but Dwarf does have the 1% crit on guns. There are a couple guns that you can get your hands on, the Honor Hold gun and Exalted, Engineering gun potentially, but it's kind of a meme. There's a few guns out there, so if you did have a gun, it might, you know, balance things out a little bit. Draenei, you get the plus melee hit as a result of your racial. That'll apply to you and your pet, so there's some stuff to love on the Draenei front. You know, gun to my head, I'd say Night Elf is the highest DPS, you know, on paper, and most hunters will agree. On PvP, Dwarf is going to be the king here. Just Stone Form is phenomenal in the arena and out in the open world. You know, you can take poisons off rogues, their wound poison, crippling poison. You can drop a freezing trap and use your stone form, and it's kind of like a blessing of freedom on yourself. Super good. The implications of stone form are vast and far-reaching. You can get out of Growth Silence with it. It's huge. You can take off Viper Stings. Stone form is phenomenal in PvP. So we're just gonna blast through this. Higher base agi on Night Elf. The Shadow Meld is okay, but you know, in an arena, if you're pet stealth and you're stealth, like, people know exactly where you are. You're kind of just right at the spawn point in arena. Draenei, you get this heroic presence as opposed to inspiring presence. Warrior Paladin Hunter gets the 1% melee hit. Shaman Mage Priest gets the 1% spell hit. Orcs, you get 282 attack power from Blood Fury on a 2-minute cooldown. The absolute cheese and rice. The Orcs are insane in TBC. Tauren, with the leeway, you technically have the longest range. That's one fun thing about them. War Stomp's pretty good too as well. Troll, Berserking in the context of TBC, a bit weaker. Fights are a bit longer. It's a 3-minute cooldown, not a 2-minute cooldown. You can still take your gear out, put it back on, pop a demonic rune. All that stuff still applies, but again, just not as strong as it is in the classic environment. Blood Elves, you get Arcane Torrent and stuff like that, pretty weak on Hunter. All right, general stat weights. So this is the type of thing you're going to probably come back to. It's not that juicy to talk about right now. There's a few things. One agi is now 1 range attack power, not 2. You know, if you look up TBC Hunter Guide, you'll generally see this hierarchy: agi over AP, over crit, over int, over MP5, over stamina. This is nothing too new, but they failed to mention armor pen and haste. Armor pen is really, really good. If you have an opportunity to itemize for armor pen, you're going to want to, you know, 9 times out of 10 choose that armor pen. You know, bosses in TBC kind of fall into one of 2 buckets: bucket A, bucket B. Like, they have, you're either like 7,700 armor or 8,800 armor. Those might not be the exact values, but the general thing you want to keep in mind with armor pen is that if it's a lower armor target, armor pen tends to do more work for you. If it's a super high armor target, armor pen does less work for you. Kind of counterintuitive, but armor pen slaps. Yeah, I mean, agi is stronger than attack power. You guys know this, right? It scales with kings. You know, there's the crit rating, the dodge rating, the armor component, so it's just a bit stronger than AP. All right, general stat weights. Feel free to look at this later. You know, it just gives you the benchmark here, the hit rating versus on hit and all that stuff. Hit cap 9%, 142 hit rating for MM and BM. It's only 95 for survival as a result of the sure-footed talent. You can take a look at the theory crafted optimal weapon speed, assuming 15% quiver. They're trying to get you down with all of your haste stuff proccing as close as you can to the global cooldown without going below the global cooldown. I'll talk more about it later. Pet focus regeneration, 24.5 focus every 4 seconds. Anyway, this type of thing you're going to go back and it's going to be useful to you later. Spell power coefficients, kind of the same as it is in classic 1-to-1 with Serpent Sting, 1-to-1 Viper Sting, Arcane Shots instant 42.8, Volley 33. All right, let's move on to the Hunter now. We're going to talk about the roles of each spec. So Beast Mastery, Marksmanship, Survival. Beast Mastery, the creme de la creme, you know, pound for pound heavyweight champion, big slapper in TBC. Does massive damage, takes barely any gear to get going. You're going to see, like, you know, all you need is 4 pieces of your normal Dungeon Blue set, and that's going to carry you all the way through Tier 5. You know, there's a couple other pieces, too, that you can just craft. Beast Mastery lives the good life in TBC. I don't know any other way to put it. Highest DPS spec of the 3, strong in World PvP, fastest for leveling. There's some utility from Ferocious Inspiration, giving everybody in the party 3% damage increase, including your pet. Highest reliance on pet, par for the course given the name of the specialization, and it's the strongest in a 3v3 arena setting environment, generally speaking. Take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. It's not, you know, it's not perfect information. I'm still a student of the game, right? But these are the general things, just so you get a sense of where these specs lie in relation to each other. Next thing up, we got Marksmanship, counterintuitive, but it's the lowest DPS spec of the 3. It's also the squishiest Hunter spec. You have to keep in mind, right, you know, you might think to yourself, Marksmanship, they gotta have the highest control, right? You have Scatter and stuff like that. Thing is, Scatter, you don't need the Scatter feign into a trap and stuff anymore. You can just drop a trap, you know, right then and there. So Scatter's a bit weaker in that environment. It's the strongest in BGs, though, and it has the highest burst with no CDs. So if you have the full nut on BM, you're going to have the highest burst. But if that Bestial Rat's on cooldown, Marksmanship, you know, will slap. Lowest reliance on pet as well. Survival, second highest DPS spec. You're still pretty strong DPS, don't get it twisted. And there is one Survival Hunter required in the raid for the Exposed Weakness debuff. You're kind of a support utility spec in the raid. Scales the best with agi as a result of that lightning reflexes. You have a few other utility pieces too. Wyvern's thing, imp traps. And it's also the strongest in a 2v2 arena setting of the 3, generally speaking. Ability progression, nothing too juicy here. Feel free to screenshot this. Come back to it later. It just shows you what you get at what level. Alright, I'll go back to the last slide so you can screenshot this if you want. Okay. New abilities: Steady Shot, Kill Command, Snake Trap, Aspect of the Viper, Misdirection, Beast Within. I'll give you just a light touch TLDR with these. Steady Shot, this is the meat and potatoes of your rotation. If you heard about that one-shot rotation, or, you know, one-shot macro, whatever you want to call it, where hunters spam one macro and do all the damage with one macro, this is the ability that you know, is at the heart of that. Blizzard put it in to give hunters a bit of a filler ability in a classic WoW environment. You know, you're using aim shot, multi-shot, but there's a period of time where those abilities are on cooldown and you're kind of just autoing at that point. They wanted to give hunters a filler. Steady Shot does a ton of damage, and once you get it at 62, your whole rotation is going to change. Snake Trap. This is an interesting and flavorful and cool trap. Pretty much, you drop it, and once it gets popped, it'll summon a bazillion snakes. They will apply deadly poison, wound poison, and crippling poison to the target. So this could be, there's a number of situational use cases for this. I mean, if you're fighting a boss that'll target a random enemy for a mechanic or something, you know, spawning a bazillion new targets for the boss. You know, one of your snakes could eat a whole mechanic or something like that, so that's pretty good. If you get in a situation where you're trying to slow cast speed down or slow like or mitigate the impact of healing, snake trap could be good as well. Next up is Aspect of the Viper. This is a phenomenal ability you're going to be using a lot of the time. This is going to give you an ability to recuperate mana in combat. It's going to give you MP5. You know, this is you're going to be getting this mana regardless of whether you're in or outside of spirit-based mana regeneration. The smaller amount of mana you have, the more impactful it's going to be. Once you get this at 64, it's going to be giving you just a ton of mana. It's really good. Generally speaking, you're going to start the fight in Aspect of the Hawk, and then as your mana starts to dwindle, you start to get a little bit scarce on resources. Be forward thinking, swap into Viper, and you'll be able to get some more sustain. This is just really good on Hunter. Kill Command. This is something that only becomes available to use after you crit. Now, it's something that it's off the global cooldown, but you can't use it while you're steady shotting or something like that, right? But you're generally going to prio it as soon as it comes up, you know, as soon as your steady shot completes or whatever. Does a lot of damage. You don't need to be within line of sight of your pet. You could be around the corner and you can still use it on your pet because your pet actually executes the skill command. It's not you. It's your pet doing it. So it's a fun ability. You might recognize it from retail. Beast Within, this is an iconic ability. Turns the hunter red alongside his pet. You know, this is tied into Bestial Wrath. So you pop Bestial Wrath, your pet will turn red, you will turn red, you'll do more damage, your stuff will cost less, and you're uncontrollable. Fun to use. Misdirection. This is another game changer right here. This is going to allow you to basically redirect your threat to another target. 9 times out of 10, that's going to be your tank, right? So you're going to use this on cooldown. You know, you're going to open up on a boss with this as a hunter. You're going to misdirect. Generally, you're going to aim shot, arcane shot, distracting shot, and just tempo out a bunch of threat to give your tank a nice threat lead. Really, really good, you know, high impact tool that really just, I mean, hunters are just awesome in TBC, man. All right, so I don't know if this is useful to you. If I were you right now and I was a little bit lost in the sauce with regard to how hunters perform in TBC, I feel like this would be valuable. These are 3 parses here, 2 from which are in Black Temple. 1 is from Serpent Shrine Cavern SSC. And it just hopefully gives you a little bit of a taste of where your abilities lie with respect to each other. You know, how strong Steady Shot is with respect to your auto shot, how much percent of your damage is coming from your pet. As you can see, the pet damage here, you can calculate it by adding auto attack, which is the pet. That's not your auto shot. Your auto shot's above it, right? Auto attack plus lightning breath. So what is that? 21.5 plus kill command. I guess technically would be from your pet. So, you know, 21 point. You know, I mean, you're looking at like maybe like 30% damage from your pet here. Looking at all things considered, because you have to add bite as well. So bite, kill command, lightning breath, auto attack. This is another one as well. You can see, even though these are different parses, they're kind of all the abilities are doing like a similar percentage of overall damage. You saw lightning breath there, so those hunters using wind serpent. This last one, I'm not sure if this dude was survival or marks. I mean survival or BM, but you can see gore. Gore is usually indicative of them using a Ravager pet. But hopefully this just gives you a little taste of like how strong your abilities are. All right, so we're gonna move it on to talents now. So this is the open world quester. If you want to be out in the open world leveling solo, you want to do your own thing, you want to get ahead of the pack, you know, whatever your plans are, this would be the talent setup I would recommend you to come out the gate with. I can jump into the talents real quick. I'll bring up a talent calculator and we can go through it just so you get a general sense of how the talents are. Okay. So first thing, Aspect of the Hawk, they changed it, so it feels a bit better now in practice. You know, even 1 point will give you a 10% chance of increasing range attack speed by 3%. It was kind of the opposite before, if you remember in Classic, where you'd have a really small chance of increasing your attack speed by a lot. Now you have like a static 10% chance of increasing it by 15%. It's pretty good, but the reason why I didn't take it with the open world leveling build is that if once you're 64 plus, you're going to get Aspect of the Viper. You're probably going to be just sustained grinding, sustained questing, full pump. If that's the case, then you're going to be sitting in Viper 90% of the time anyway. You may not want to invest in the Aspect of the Hawk. Either way, you could. Endurance training changes a bit better now. Increases health for your pet by 10%, but also increases your health by 5%, so that's pretty nice. There's a new ability here, Focused Fire, as well. I don't know if I'm going to talk about each ability, because it'll take a long time, but I will hover over it so you can see and kind of just read it and pause the video if you'd like. Revive Pet's good as well. Bestial Swiftness, I like it. You'll see a lot of guys that don't include it. I think it's pretty good, just higher uptime on your pet. You know, move from target A to target B faster. Let's see here, anything else? So one thing is Frenzy. Let me go down to Frenzy real quick so I can show you. Frenzy. Imp Menpet, I really like Imp Menpet. So this is similar to Classic 2. 4 points in Frenzy will be enough to give you pretty much 100% uptime on this buff, so that's why you only put 4 points in there. Imp Menpet reduces the mana cost of Menpet. I love using Menpet now that it's instant cast. I use it pretty much all the time. You know, before the pet even does anything and I'm sending it into combat, I'll throw up the Menpet on him. Because it'll tick after like 3 seconds, right? So it'll give him a second to take some damage before it starts ticking up again. Spirit Bond, if you do decide to go endurance trading, is pretty nice. You know, in Classic, it's kind of underwhelming. It's all right, but you know, you have to think about you're already sustained grinding with Viper up. You know, regenerating mana in combat, so it kind of creates a more of a synergy, right? If you're in Viper, you're also recuperating some health as well through Spirit Bond, and this is also increasing your health and the pet's health by 10 and 5. So kind of a nice little synergy between these two. I like it. Animal Handler, this is good, increasing your speed while mounted by 8%, also increases your pet's hit chance, really nice. This is the utility talent I was talking about before. Ferocious Inspiration gives all party members damage increased by 3% when your pet scores a critical hit, which will be like all the time. There's Bestial Wrath. Cat-like Reflexes is pretty damn good. I would definitely recommend this talent as well at some point if you're solo leveling, because I see a lot of guides skip over this Cat-like Reflexes. But I mean, just look at it. It's 9% avoidance on your pet. It is really, really juicy value. I feel it's really good. Then Serpent Swiftness, amazing. I mean, this is like a busted talent. Look at this. Increases ranged combat attack speed by 20%. And your pet's melee attack speed by 20%. Just so good. Every talent in BM just feels amazing. Beast Within. And then, you know, pretty much, so we're at like 55 right now. You'd work your way down the March tree, so you could get Imp Hunter's Mark. This is something that would provide a bit of utility in a group if you wanted to, you know, splash in some dungeons here or there. But if you're just going to be solo out in the open world, I'd recommend Efficiency. Now you're down to this final tier 3 in Marks. Here's the weird thing, this rapid killing, it looks really good, but you have to understand you're not really going to be aim shotting, right? Like this, 9 times out of 10, this rapid killing is just going to give you a little bit of a bonus on your next auto shot or whatever. So it's not as good as you might think. I would say, if you're purely solo out in the open world and like you're just trying to find that extreme, Go for the Throat is going to be the best. Go for the Throat is a phenomenal talent. Once you get Go for the Throat, and like you're going to be, your pet is going to, it's going to be hard for your pet to keep up with how much focus you're giving it. And just to give you a little more color on how impactful this is, once you have 30% base crit approximately and you have Go for the Throat, your Ravager, which is like your bread and butter type TBC pet, even your Ravager with Gore and stuff, it has no cooldown on it, even those Ravagers struggle to dump focus fast enough, and oftentimes a lot of these big brain hunters will opt for a Wind Serpent, as you saw in those previous parses, because it has a higher focus cost to them, 50 focus, and Go for the Throat's massive. So I would go for the Throat first, and then I would go into probably Rapid Killing, and then finish off with Aim Shot at 70. But again, it's not that serious. Just like it's more important that you understand what this stuff does, so you can make your own decisions. Now, the other one I'd show you is if you wanted to go more of like a dungeon cleave setup, you would still go BM. We were flirting with the idea of going survival. There's some utility in survival, but BM just does ridiculous damage. It'd be so good in a dungeon. If I was dungeon cleaving, I would probably pick up stuff like Aspect of the Hawk. As well, you just think about all of your abilities in a group context. I would definitely pick up Imp Hunter's Mark. If I had the dungeon cleave on a hunter, it'd be in a melee cleave. You'd have Imp Hunter's Mark, and that'd be your contribution utility-wise to the group. So that is that. Let's get back to the slides now. Open world questers. So this is how you would finish off. Apologies if there might be maybe 1 or 2 points different from what I just demonstrated, but there was the before and after 60 and 70. Dungeon Cleaver, 60 and 70. Stuff like no Bestial Swiftness because you'll be inside, no cat-like reflexes, that 9% dodge or avoidance because your pet's not going to be tanking. Stuff like that. Just think about all your talents in the context of a group and spam in dungeons. All right, the one-shot macro. We're going to try to dissect this now. You probably heard about this. Not 100% confirmed whether or not this is going to be in the game, and whether you can use this in Classic TBC or not. I will try to explain this conceptually to you. You don't 100% need this. This is a nice quality of life because this macro, essentially, you just spam it and you're doing damn near close to optimal damage. This is what it looks like here on the left. Yeah, this is what it looks like. So we're going to break it down, okay? Line 1, Show tooltip steady shot. Not rocket science, just makes it look like steady shot on your bars as opposed to like lightning breath or whatever. Line 2, sends your pet into attack. It'll probably be on passive all the time. It's just the best practice. So it'll send your pet into attack as soon as you hit that DPS macro. Line 3 will force your pet to cast its focus dump as much as possible, because you generate so much focus on your pet as a result of Go for the Throat and all the other talents working in tandem with each other, that you just kind of need to spam your pet's AI as much as possible to just dump. Line 4 will make it so you will not be able to cast, and this is okay, listen up, this is it right here. Line 4 right here, / cast sequence reset equals 2.62. You're gonna put in your this will vary based on your attack speed, accounting for your MS. Steady shot, comma, exclamation point, auto shot. Line 4 makes it so you will not be able to cast another steady shot until you fire your next natural auto shot. This will prevent you from clipping or missing your auto shot damage, which makes up, this is a bit high, this is a bit high, but your auto shot does a lot of your damage, right? So it would be easy if you were just spamming steady shot to clip or overwrite your natural auto shots, right? So this will make it so you're getting basically full value from your auto shots, and weaving in steady shots is damn near perfectly as possible. The last line will make it so you'll kill command if it's available to you. So if this macro does work, you're going to be putting in your attack speed, accounting for your MS in here. So it could be 2.62, it could be 2.71, it could be whatever. But if this macro didn't work for whatever reason, and it's up for debate, if it didn't work, you would kind of take a page out of your classic roots playing a hunter, and you just have your swing timer, and you would steady shot, and you just have to evaluate, am I close to finishing an auto shot? Like, is it worth it to sit here and just finish this auto shot before I steady shot again? You just have to keep a little bit more tabs on it. You should be used to it if you played a hunter in classic, right? Just, weaving in your aim shots or your multi-shots and opting for a clip through a full version of the rotation. Even if this macro isn't in the game, it's not the end of the world. I hope that makes sense. You just don't want to clip your auto shots, and you're weaving in steady shots with it. But if this works, you literally just spam this macro, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. All right, leveling rotation. So 60 to 62. Here's a few things I want to throw out there. In classic WoW, multi-shot and aim shot, that's your bread and butter, right? Aim shot and multi-shot is your bread. Multi-shot's your butter. TBC, you got to get in a different headspace in TBC. Aim shot isn't the massive reliable damage that it was in classic. It's something that's more of a utility type of spell. You use it on the pull, you'd use it to get the MS effect, you'd use it for just a tempo misdirect type of thing, but it's not like the bread and butter of your damage. The steady shot weaving with auto shot, like that one shot macro, is way more damage than aim shot. So dispel the hype over aim shot in your own mind, right? So that's why, and same thing with multi-shot. Like early 60 to 62, you're still going to be using multi-shot, even single target. But later, multi-shot will only be kind of worth it if you're 2+ targets. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyway, we'll keep it simple. 60 to 62, you don't have kill command. You don't have steady shot yet because you get it to 62. You're just going to throw up Menpet as you're sending your pet in, because it'll tick like 3 seconds later. And Menpet's super efficient. Like, you just want to get good value from it. Then auto shot, multi-shot, auto shot, Serpent's thing. Again, you can throw in an arcane shot in there if you'd like as well. Just make that determination. Use Bestial Wrath and Rapid Fire when needed. 62 to 66, you're going to get steady shot. So you're going to opt for that one-shot macro. Once you get steady shot. So once you get steady shot, this kind of goes out the window. You're going to spam steady shot, the steady shot macro. 64 is when you get Aspect to the Viper. So if you're leveling and open world leveling solo out in the open world, constantly questing, constantly killing stuff, you're probably not going to be mana capped. So if you're not mana capped, sit in Viper. If you're mana capping for whatever reason, mana isn't an issue, then use Hawk, right? Okay, so now 66 through 70, you'll start having your full kit. You'll have kill command available to you, so you're going to pry out kill command over steady shot when it's available to you, spamming that one-shot macro. If you're fighting 2 targets, we'll get into this in a second. If you're fighting 2 targets, it is worth it to multi-shot, and 7+ targets. This is just the general kind of gut feeling type of thing. But if there's a ton of targets, go ahead and throw down an explosive trap. Okay. So here's an example of like a boss rotation. It wouldn't have to necessarily be a boss. It could just be like a really strong thing out in the open world that you wanted to take out. This is just to like give you good fundamentals and like a good way of thinking of playing Hunter in TBC, right? So before the pull, you throw up Mark, and you're probably 95% of the time going to start in Hawk, right? Unless it's maybe like the longest fight ever. You're trying to get every ounce of MP5 value, but 95% of the time you're going to be sitting in Hawk. You're going to pull, if you have a tank on you, you know, you can, or if you're trying to misdirect, aim shot, arcane shot, distracting shot, and then you're going to go into your rotation. So you're going to pop your burst, so you can pop Bestial Wrath alongside Rapid Fire, and then your drum of choice. So it could be Drums of War or Drums of Battle to the haste or the bonus AP one, and then you're just going to throw up whatever shot is going to be best. Most of the time that's going to be Serpent Sting, if you're like kind of solo, but if you're fighting like a hard boss and maybe he's slapping the tank, you can throw up Scorpion Sting. It'll mitigate some of the damage from the boss. So you throw up your Sting, and then you just commence your one-shot macro, spamming, good to go. Multi-target. If there are 2 targets, use multi-shot on cooldown. 1 target, it's no longer worth it to use multi-shot. Hope that makes sense. And if there's a bunch of targets, run in there using explosive trap. The days of melee weaving, this is nothing I'll comment on. The days of melee weaving are pretty much over. So your weapon is kind of a stat stick now. Kind of. I mean, again, there's always going to be little weird niche use cases for it and stuff like that, right? Also, if you're moving, you can throw an arcane shot or reapply a sting. If you have to move for a mechanic or something like that, you can use your instant cast stuff. All right, making good progress. Section 3, we're going to talk about pets. So, pets in TBC at level 70 with loyalty level 6, you'll have 350 training points. There's 2 new really high impact trainable passives that they've added. One is Cobra Reflexes, the second one is Avoidance. Cobra Reflexes could be a bit confusing. Attack speed increased by 30%, but damage done is reduced. This ends up being like, I think like a 10 to 15% damage increase. You know, it's kind of confusing looking at this. Like, is there a drawback here? But it's purely value add. Cobra Reflex is trained every time. Avoidance. This one's really nice. In Classic, there's no AoE handicap for pets or whatever, right? Like if there's a boss AoE blast wave, it's hitting your pet 100% of the damage. In TBC with this Avoidance, you're at least going to reduce that area effect. Attack damage by 50%. So it's your pets are gonna be a lot more survivable in a raid type environment. So this is really nice. So Growl also now scales with the Hunter's range attack power, which is really good now too, as well. So just your pets are gonna be scaling with you. As you get stronger, your pet will get stronger. I think it's flavorful. It's so nice that's the case in TBC. All pets have the same base pursuit speed of 115%. Just good to know. Normalize attack speed. They buff some of the breeds like Raptor, for example. You know how Raptor is really good. You know, the stats on Raptor, just a lump of stats is really solid. It's actually kind of like objectively better than Cat. But the main drawback is they don't have a dash. Well, they've added, you know, dash and dive to some pets. Also, pets that appear to have a mana bar have caster stats. So if you're out in the open world and you want to tame like a Dragon Hawk or a Nether Ray or whatever, and you see it has a mana bar, don't tame it, pass on it, because pets with caster stats have, this is kind of an approximation, right? But 83% of the armor, 80% of the health, and 80% of the damage compared to just a normal pet without caster stat. It'll look like this. Like if you wanted to tame this Thunderhawk and you see a mana bar here, just pass on this tame one with no mana bar, because you're going to be taking... they're just going to be weaker, pretty much. They do have higher intelligence and spirit, but these aren't super valuable stats to have on a pet. Alright, pet breeds. You can see some new ones here. Dragon Hawks, Snakes, Warp Stalkers. What else? Ravagers, classic. Nether Rays, Spiders, Spore Bats. I think that's it. So here's the pet scaling side, slide. Pet attribute sharing. So pets will get 30% of your stamina, 35% of your armor, 22% of your range attack power will be converted to melee attack power, 12.87% of your range attack power will be converted to spell power, super cool there, I love that, and 40% of your resistances will be added to their resistances. So here'd be an example of pet progression. I mean, it's not that serious at the end of the day. You could just use your pet from Classic, level all the way to 70, and then tame something at 70. But if you wanted to be methodical about it, as soon as you get, right out the gate into the Outland, as soon as you hit 61, you could tame a Quillfang Skitterer. It has rank 8 gore. It's a Ravager. It's in like the southwest portion of Hellfire, if you can visualize it. So that'd be the earliest time you can get a Ravager. And then if you're in Blade's Edge, you can tame a 63. This is the lowest level Ravager that has rank 9 Gore and rank 3 Dash. I threw this in here because it was a really juicy nugget to keep in mind. Like, what I thought is that you just use a Ravager throughout all TBC as a Hunter, right? Just so strong on the PvE side of things. But apparently, like, the big brain PvEers have been telling me, once you reach 30% base crit, you're gonna be critting enough times and generating enough focus with Go for the Throat and the marksmanship tree that even your Ravager with double focus thump, you know, bite and gore, it can't keep up with how much focus it's regenerating. That they swap over to Wind Serpent. Just something to keep in mind. You can tame a Fellsworn Scale Wing as Lightning Breath rank 6. There's two Wind Serpents with the highest rank Lightning Breath in Blade's Edge. And the highest Ravager you can train is 70. It's convenient, so you don't have to level 1 up from 60, whatever. You can train a 70 Ravager, and it's called a Nethermine Ravager. And that's in Shadowmoon Valley. I forgot to add that in there. Okay, here's all the pet actives in the game. You may notice some new ones. You have Fire Breath here. This is like a channeled AoE conal thing. Dragonhawks have it. It's okay. Gore, this one I should have, we can look at it in a second. Gore is pretty much a focus thump with no cooldown. It has a chance of doing double damage. That's the interesting thing about it. Poison Spit, it doesn't stack like similar like Scorpid Poison. It's just like a poison dot that ticks over 8 seconds or something. Scorpid Poison, this stacks up really good in PvP for making all of your stings and stuff much harder to dispel. You'll oftentimes see like really good Hunter players in the arena use Scorpids. What else we got here? Warp here. This is like kind of a blink on Warp Stalkers. Like they'll be able to blink to the target, and I think it gives them a 50% chance to like miss the next attack on them. So here's all the pet actives in TBC. They're right in front of you. Pet passives. We talked about avoidance and Cobra reflexes. All this other stuff you should recognize. Ravagers. Here it is. Gores the enemy, causing 37 to 62 damage. This attack has a 50% chance to inflict double damage. You can see the pet stats here. HP, armor, and DPS, so good. I mean, HP is the least impactful, you know, stat overall. Like armor will just give you better cash flow on your HP. So like armor, DPS, the stats on Ravager are just insane, man. Just insane, you know. The breed stats. You got Warp Stalkers here. With the warp ability, teleports to an enemy up to 30 yards away and gives the pet a 50% chance to avoid the next melee attack. Lasts 4 seconds. There it is. We won't spend too much time on this. You can feel free to screenshot this stuff, and if you guys do want the slides, I'm gonna gate them behind a Patreon thing. Like during Classic, a lot of my guides they got yoinked, so I'm trying to gate them a little bit. If you want the slide presentation for to view on your iPad or mobile or at your own leisure, feel free to subscribe or whatever on Patreon. You can get access to all the guides that I've ever made and will make. So we got hyenas, spore bats. Spore bats kind of funny. Doing research on this, it's kind of like the redheaded stepchild of Blizzard pets. They just didn't give them any abilities. They can only learn cower and growl. They look pretty cool, you know. Like you might have some epic, meme ability or taming one of these. They look pretty cool, but there's really just nothing to them. Like 0 modifier on HP, armor, or DPS, and they can't learn anything other than cower and growl. They can eat a lot of food though. Look pretty cool. Got snakes with the poison spit, Dragonhawks with the fire breath. Yeah, targets it's a frontal cone, 111 fire damage over 2 seconds. Nether Rays. I heard this is the highest health pet in the game, and it also has pretty high damage as well. The armor is super low, so this could be decent if you found a situation where you could put them up against like spellcasters or stuff that didn't do physical damage. But they look pretty cool. They learn bite, carrion birds. Owls. We'll get through all this stuff. A lot of pet breeds. We'll get through them all. Yeah, as you can see, Raptor, I'll show you real quick. Raptors now have dash, which is really nice. Gorillas, Thunderstomps, Scorpids, bears. We should be getting to the end here. Crabs, Tall Striders, my boy Maserati. All right, next up we have leveling strategy. So leveling strategy. I talked with some big brain hunters, asked them what their plans are for TBC. Just wanted to share that information with you guys. Some of them want to just level solo. They think it's going to be better that way. Some of them think the dungeon cleave meta is overhyped and it's not going to be the way. But the people that do feel that way, they plan on just skipping Hellfire. They think Hellfire is going to be an absolute clown fiesta. They're going to go right to Zanger Marsh, and they have a whole route based around that. So I'll just leave you to it, throw that out there for you to start thinking about. The other thing would be just leveling normally, going through Hellfire, just going through all the motions. And the third main way would be a dungeon cleave. Again, I would recommend either Hunter stacking or doing some sort of melee cleave. Hunter stacking could be pretty solid. And then you would only quest when you hit your instance cap. So this would be a potential dungeon cleave route for you. Went into all the dungeons, found what level range the trash were, as well as the bosses in there. So again, this would just be kind of like on you and your group. Switch it up, have some fun, go into ramps, blood furnace, slave pens, go back and forth, whatever's going to make sense to you. Here they are. I haven't included stuff like Steam Vault, Shadow Labs, stuff like that, because those are the high level ones. Okay, next up is the Armory. So we're going to talk about professions really quick, and this first profession, there's not a lot of flexibility with this one. It's really good. Leatherworking, the drums, you can see them all here. Drums of Battle gives you haste. You're going to have like a drums rotation in PvE. There's a couple different ones. You're going to be usually choosing between Drums of Battle or Drums of War. This Drums of War will give you AP. So it's BIS through all TBC, leatherworking, you're going to be using drums. And if you plan on raiding and raiding at a decently high level, it's a good chance that your group is going to make it mandatory to have leatherworking. There's also other considerations for Hunter, though. This Ebon Nether scale set is really good. So your gear, like 7 pieces of your gear, all the way through tier 5, like 4 of them will be dungeon blues, just normal dungeon blues, not even heroic dungeon blues, the Beast Lord set. You get 4 pieces there for the armor pen. And then you can also craft some of this Ebon Nether scale stuff. And you can level in a smart way so that you can set yourself up so it's not that bad to even craft this stuff, which we'll talk about in a second. But leatherworking, very, very strong. No one's going to tell you you're a noob if you choose leatherworking on a Hunter. The next one would be skinning. If you have a bazillion gold, maybe you don't need skinning, but skinning pairs with leatherworking well. There's no skinning bonus, like in combat bonus type thing like in Wrath, but if you wanted to go skinning, to set yourself up for success, to level it up fast so you can get this stuff. There's just a few tips for you. You can farm up a ton of knot-hide leather. It's just you'll get this as you level up. And if you're a hunter and you're ahead of the pack, hit up the Elemental Plateau, try to farm some primals there, and then go to Netherstorm and farm demons outside of our Area 52 to get fell hides, which also drop motes of shadows, and the motes of shadows can be combined into the primal shadow. So there's a little few tips there. Here's some weapon options. So you know what kind of gear you have right now. You may have an Adjutal, you may have an Nerubian Slave Maker by the time you're looking at this, or you could just have a fresh 60 that you're ready for TBC. Either way, these weapons right here are guaranteed quest rewards that you can just keep in mind. Both of these are in Hellfire. These next ones are in Nagrand and Netherstorm. Gun and a crossbow. Guaranteed quest rewards. Then you have a couple more, and these are going from lowest DPS just upwards. So another one from Blade's Edge, Netherstorm. This is a big ticket item. You may want to front load this, team up with a couple other hunters, and get this done. This is you get this as a result of finishing Clefthoof Mastery. This is in Nagrand. This gun slaps pretty hard. This is way better than Adjutal, right? Pretty sure. So you might want to get this one. And then I just included these because Valanos Longbow, these are probably going to be 8 up on a fresh, but look for this. If you can pick this up, this is going to be really, really strong. You can just like raid with this if you can pick it up. It's a cheapish BOE world drop. There's also Don Santos' famous hunting rifle as well. It's another BOE that you can be on the lookout for. See, like there are guns out there. And then these are the 2 ones you want to keep in mind as well. So Thralmar or Honor Hold Reputation, you do get an epic either gun or a bow. You know, for the Horde you get a bow. For the Alliance you get a gun. You get Exalted. You can get these, so it's just something you might want to work towards. Now I'm just going to quickly blaze through these. Feel free to screenshot, stop the video right here and just screenshot these for future reference. But these are guaranteed quest rewards that are really good for all the slots. We got head, neck, shoulder. Sorry if I'm going fast again. Just pause the video right here and take a screenshot if you'd like, or hit up the Patreon. Here's chest, wrist, hands, waist, legs, boots, got some rings, trinkets. This Blade Fist's breath is really awesome, easy to get to. And then we got sources at the end. So we've reached the end of the guide, guys. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you feel just more confident and more comfortable and excited to play Hunter in TBC. This guide took a ton of work, man. I mean, I don't know if it seemed like it, but every time I make one of these, I mean, it takes like 100 hours of research or something like that. Then we put all the slides together. So I would really, you know, appreciate if you could comment or like or try to support it, share it, do whatever you can do. You guys know what to do. I also stream over at Twitch, guys. If anybody is unfamiliar with me, I'm at twitch.tv/Kargoz Gaming. And I will shill one last time and say, if you do want these slides for yourself, you want to download them or anything like that, I will have all of the slides, all of the future presentations, past, present, and future, available, just unlockable on the Patreon. If you just pay, you know, Patreon $5 or whatever, you can get all the slides forever. Share them with your friends, do whatever you want to do. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it, and I plan on doing these for all the classes and lots of TBC content to come. It's exciting times, guys. I hope you have a good one, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.